Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Monday, January 27th, 2025, and you're listening to Alex's News. The weather in Riverside will be chilly today, with a high of 54.4 degrees and a low of 43.7 degrees Fahrenheit, so make sure to bundle up if you're heading outside. Coming up, we'll examine the disproportionate impact of environmental policy changes on minority communities during the Trump administration. Then, we'll analyze the effectiveness of Trump's water management orders during Los Angeles wildfires and why they may not address the core issues. Finally, we'll take a closer look at Dubai's rapid expansion and the challenges this Middle Eastern metropolis faces as it continues to push boundaries. All this and more, coming up on Alex's News. We begin this morning with a significant shift in environmental policy that's raising concerns among advocacy groups nationwide. With us now is our environmental policy correspondent, Ethan Parker. Ethan, walk us through these sweeping changes from the Trump administration.
Thanks, Grace. According to reporting from the Star Tribune, President Trump has wasted no time in his first week back in office, systematically dismantling several key environmental justice programs that were cornerstones of the Biden administration. These changes are particularly impacting Black, Latino, and low-income communities that have historically faced disproportionate exposure to environmental hazards.
Can you break down some of the specific programs that have been eliminated?
The changes are extensive, Grace. The White House has disbanded its environmental justice advisory teams and, notably, canceled the Justice 40 Inches initiative. For those unfamiliar, Justice 40 was a program that required 40% of environmental program benefits to be directed to communities most affected by pollution. The administration has also withdrawn from the Paris Climate Agreement and, as the Columbian reports, reversed federal policies that date back to the Clinton era, addressing environmental health issues in minority communities.
This seems to be a dramatic departure from the previous administration's approach. What kind of progress are we losing here?
The contrast is stark, Grace. During the Biden years, from 2021 to 2025, the EPA made significant strides. Bay News 9 reports that the agency funded crucial studies showing Black Americans across all income levels were more likely to face harmful pollution exposure. They also implemented stricter air pollution standards and proposed lead pipe removal mandates. Perhaps most notably, they issued the largest Clean Air Act fine in history and successfully reduced over 225 million pounds of pollution in overburdened communities.
What's the Trump administration's reasoning behind these changes?
According to Joe Lupino Esposito from the Pacific Legal Foundation, the administration views these environmental policies as onerous restrictions on development. They're particularly targeting what they see as an inappropriate racial focus, linking these rollbacks to their broader opposition to diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives.
And what are environmental advocates saying about these changes?
Environmental justice advocates, including activist Jade Begay, are expressing deep concern. They're predicting reduced consideration of pollution's impact on minority communities, fewer protections for vulnerable populations, and increased industrial development without proper environmental safeguards. Perhaps most concerning is the potential halt to climate program funds from the Inflation Reduction Act. Many are describing this as rolling back decades of progress.
Thank you, Ethan, for that comprehensive breakdown of these significant policy changes. We'll continue to follow this developing story. This is story 1 of 3 this morning. We turn now to a developing story about water management in California, where a new executive order is raising concerns among environmental groups. Joining us to break this down is our environmental correspondent, Chloe Martinez. Chloe, what can you tell us about this order?
Grace, according to Cal Matters, President Trump signed an executive order yesterday directing federal agencies to increase water deliveries from the Central Valley Project. He's citing Los Angeles fires as the justification, but this move is already generating significant controversy.
Can you explain exactly what the Central Valley Project is and how much water we're talking about here?
The Central Valley Project is a massive federal water management system that, according to current data, provides about 5 million acre-feet of water to farms and approximately 600,000 acre-feet for municipal use. What's particularly noteworthy is that about 75% of this water serves Central Valley farms, not Los Angeles.
That's interesting, Chloe. How does Los Angeles actually get its water then?
Well, according to water management experts, about 40% of Los Angeles's water comes from state-controlled projects connected to Northern California. The Metropolitan Water District of Southern California has reported having ample water stored, so water supply isn't actually the issue when it comes to fighting fires.
What are the environmental concerns being raised about this order?
Environmental groups are particularly worried about the Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta ecosystem. The order could threaten several endangered species, including the winter-run Chinook salmon, which is endangered, the Delta smelt, which has been endangered since 2009, and the spring-run Chinook salmon, which is listed as threatened.
What about the infrastructure aspect? Is there any connection between water delivery and the city's ability to fight fires?
That's a crucial point, Grace. According to the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, the real challenge lies in infrastructure. They've been implementing major upgrades since 2020, including replacing 240,000 feet of distribution main lines annually and installing about 85,000 feet of earthquake-resilient pipe. CalMatters reporting indicates there's no documented evidence that a lack of Central Valley Project water has ever hindered firefighting efforts in Los Angeles.
Thank you for that comprehensive report, Chloe. We'll continue to follow this developing story. Here are some other headlines. In Hong Kong, a cherished culinary tradition is facing an uncertain future, as snake soup, a centuries-old delicacy, becomes increasingly rare. The number of specialized snake soup shops has plummeted from over 100 to just 20, due to rising costs, complex preparation requirements, and difficulties finding new practitioners willing to handle venomous snakes. A Bulgarian shipping company is strongly denying accusations that its vessel intentionally sabotaged a Baltic Sea fiber optic cable connecting Sweden and Latvia. The company suggests any damage may have been caused accidentally by the ship's anchor during severe weather conditions. The incident is under investigation by Swedish authorities, with NATO and EU officials closely monitoring the situation. At the box office, Mel Gibson's latest film Flight Risk has claimed the top spot despite poor reviews, earning $12 million in its opening weekend. Meanwhile, The Brutalist, a 3.5-hour epic with 10 Academy Award nominations, has expanded its theatrical release, bringing in $2.9 million. In sports, the Kansas City Chiefs and quarterback Patrick Mahomes are heading back to the Super Bowl, aiming to achieve a historic three-peat championship victory. The team's recent dominance in the NFL has positioned them for this rare opportunity to win 3 consecutive Super Bowl titles. As we approach Holocaust Remembrance Day, the original rail tracks at Auschwitz concentration camp continue to stand as silent witnesses to one of history's darkest chapters. These aging remnants, along with a preserved German train car placed at the Birkenau ramp, serve as powerful memorials to the millions who suffered and perished during the Holocaust. We turn now to a developing story about Dubai's unprecedented growth and the mounting challenges facing its residents. Joining us to discuss this is our international affairs correspondent, Ethan Parker. Ethan, what's behind these growing concerns?
Grace, according to extensive reporting from the Washington Post, Dubai is experiencing what we might call growing pains on a massive scale. The city is projected to see its population jump from 3.8 million to 5.8 million by 2040, and that explosive growth is already creating significant challenges for residents.
Can you break down some of the specific issues residents are facing?
The housing situation is particularly dire. ABC News reports that rental prices have skyrocketed by 20% in just the past year. This has forced many residents to make difficult choices, with many relocating to desert communities on the outskirts of the city just to find affordable housing.
That's a substantial increase. What about the demographic makeup of the city?
That's an interesting point, Grace. According to the Washington Post, only about 10% of Dubai's population is actually Emirati citizens. This creates a unique dynamic where the vast majority of residents are expatriate workers, all competing for housing and resources in an increasingly expensive city.
We're also hearing reports about transportation challenges. What can you tell us about that?
The transportation situation is reaching a critical point. WSIL-TV, citing Associated Press reporting, indicates that Dubai now has approximately 1 million daily commuters, with 4 out of 5 employees driving to work alone. Vehicle registrations have jumped 10% in just 2 years, leading to severe traffic congestion.
How is Dubai planning to address these challenges?
The city is implementing several solutions. They're expanding the metro system and introducing a new road toll system with surge pricing. Perhaps most intriguingly, they're planning to launch flying taxi services in early 2026. That's about 365 days from now. They're also adding 3,300 kilometers of new pedestrian paths and encouraging remote work initiatives.
Despite these challenges, I understand Dubai's economy continues to thrive?
That's correct, Grace. The Washington Post reports that Dubai is still seeing record-breaking real estate transactions, and Emirates Airline is experiencing significant growth. However, this economic success is creating a paradox, where the city's prosperity is actually making it increasingly difficult for many residents to maintain their quality of life.
Thank you for that comprehensive report, Ethan. That was story 3 of 3 for this morning. That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King with Claude Sonnet 3.5, the Perplexity API, and the Google Cloud Text-to-Speech API. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.